Hate Army General saying hate Army shit. Hate Army. Your name is Hate Army?
Motherfucker, you know who I am?
Do I still have all my childhood belongings at my parents' house? I don't know. I don't know the extent of what they've kept and what they haven't. They told me, I know this sounds crazy, but listen to this. They told me many times over the years, oh, they kept all my kids' stuff in their attic just in case I have kids and I want to give it to my kids. And I want you to think about how crazy that sounds. What? Why, if I had kids, would I give my kids the stuff when I was a kid? I don't want my kid playing with fucking He-Man figures from the 1980s. I don't want them using a stroller from the 1980s. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't know if they still have... I know they got rid of some stuff. I know that for a fact. Because there was one point I was asking them, do you have some of that old video game stuff I used to have? Like, remember I told you guys about the original Pong console? And I asked my dad, and he's like, nah, I don't think we have. I think we threw out a bunch of stuff at one point. So I don't know, honestly, what they have and what they don't have. I mean, I'll know one day, eventually, right? I'm going to inherit it all. But I don't know what's there right now. Average at best is that I collect anything as a kid, stamps, cards, rocks. I started off as a baseball card collector. In the late 1980s, I was collecting Topps baseball cards. And in particular, I really liked the Mets baseball team. But I had all the sets. I would buy complete sets of the baseball cards. And then I went to Upper Deck. Why? Because Upper Deck cards were just way higher quality than Topps. Then I got out of the habit of sports and got into comic books. So I started collecting pop culture / comic book cards. Whenever a new movie or whatever came out, I'd buy some of the cards and start collecting. Like I remember when the original Batman movie came out, I started collecting Batman cards and stuff like that. And then I started doing comic book cards, and I had full series of things like X-Men Series 1 and 2, Marvel Masterpieces Series 1 and 2. I had a lot of those kind of cards back then. And of course, I was in comic books as well. So for a good run there in the early 90s, basically when the X-Men rebooted and had their new comic book series, so now there was Uncanny X-Men as well as another X-Men line, I was collecting and reading all of those the entire time. I did that probably for about 5 years, and then I got so heavily into video games and fighting video games that those hobbies kind of went by the wayside, and I just stopped collecting. The last collectible thing that I really collected was action figures. The Todd McFarlane action figures. Spawn. Those were huge. Like, those were ginormously popular in the 90s, and I collected those. And then I think I finally stopped collecting. They started doing Street Fighter action figures, big, nice, artistic ones. And I had several of those, and those are the last ones I really actively collected. So, okay. Don't I want kids? I'm too old for kids. I'm 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. You know, financially, I'm not that sound. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I might be. Basically, I'm at a point in my life now where if I maintain the course of what I'm doing right now, I should be able to hopefully, fingers crossed, refinance my home within the next couple of years. And if I do that, then I should be all right. And then I'll finally be financially sound, but I'll be in my 40s. I'm not going to have kids. I don't want kids, first of all. And then on top of that, it's too late to have kids. It's not, you know, I don't have the money to do it, to raise kids properly. You know, there's so many people on this planet, they're like, just because I can have kids, I should have them. I've never been of that mentality. For me, it's if I was going to have kids, it had to be within my means. It had to be that I know I could provide for those children and give them a really good life. I can't do that. I know I can't. I absolutely positively know I can't. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have kids and then put them in a situation where we're struggling constantly and everything's messed up. Absolutely not. You know? So the answer is no. True. Exactly. Returnal says anyone can have kids, but the parenting part's very hard. Exactly. How am I supposed to parent my kid? I'm in here 6 days a week full time, man, just to make ends meet now. Now I have a kid. How am I going to pay for that kid on top of everything else when I'm in here, you know, working so much? You know, it's just not going to happen. The answer is absolutely not. I'm not having kids. Interesting. So they say, I agree on a childbearing thing. In the Philippines, they have a population boom. Unlike a majority of other Asian countries like Japan or South Korea, it's considered a third world country. It doesn't make sense to put children into a bad situation. Listen, again, my thought process could possibly be very different from others, all right? But my thought process has always been, if I'm going to bring a life into this world, okay, I'm going to do it in a situation where I'm going to give that life its absolute best situation. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to be rich and shit like that, but at least you have to be able to put food on the table. You have to be able to protect that person or creature, whatever it may be. You have to provide an education. You know what I'm saying? All those things. And for me, you know, over the years, have I ever considered having kids? Yes, I have thought about it. But, you know, I've never really been in a situation where it's like, okay, I feel settled. I feel like things are settled and consistent. Or, for example, with the amount of harassment that gets thrown my way on a daily basis by complete scumbags on the internet, why would I want to bring a child into the equation? I mean, hell, Kat, my wife, has absolutely nothing to do with any of the drama associated with me, my channel, my business, or anything, right? She's never been involved in it, yet my haters and scumbag shitheads on the internet bring her into it all the time. They try to say disgusting things about her. They try to bring up all kinds of stuff that has nothing whatsoever to do with anything here. Literally no connection to anything here with our lives. But they do this because they feel that they're being intrusive and that's funny to them or it's fun to them. They are nasty, disgusting sociopaths. Okay? Now, can you imagine if I had a child? Right? How about a child? Right? How could they ever live growing up? Being hard, because you know the moment I have that kid, people would be trying to harass that, find out information about them, try to, you know, God forbid they grow up, they're going to school. Oh, let's find the school to go to. Let's do this, let's do that. Like, it's insane, but they would do it. If they're crazy enough to try to find out the place where I sent my car for car repair, if they're crazy enough to try to figure out the cost of the appliances in my home, right? If they're calling my electric company to turn off my electricity, if they're impersonating me a million places to try to do fucked up stuff and ruin my life financially, I'm pretty sure that harassing my kid would not be above them. All right? So, you know, I'm in a situation where, no, I don't really think that it would be ever safe to have a child. I'm just being honest. With the level of harassment that I get online, I really don't think that's ever going to work. Okay? And I'm sorry, a lot of people are, oh, that's unfair, that's ridiculous, that's unreasonable. No, I think it is. I think it is. I think that's my life. That's sadly what I have to live with for the rest of my life. I know that sounds scary, because it is. But at the same time, at the very least, no one's ever done something in person. You know what I'm saying? No one's ever come to my house. No one's ever done something really fucked up in that regard. So at least I have that modicum of I have a real life where I don't have that connection with crazy people on the internet. But the amount of craziness on the internet, especially, let's be honest here now, our lives are so tied to the internet, correct? Any kid, there are probably a ton of their life is on the internet, right? Can you imagine having a child and now because they're my kid, all they get is online harassment? Because they're my kid. Like, it'd be the most fucked up life. I'm not doing that. I refuse. So, there you go. It's that simple. That's my answer. You believe it or not, I don't care. But that's my honest answer. Okay? Okay. Excuse me.